This might get me in trouble with people who run incubators, but we're forcing people to be entrepreneurs. To me, that is forcing people to be entrepreneurs, because somebody who's gonna be an entrepreneur, they will be an entrepreneur against all odds. With or without funding, they will work on the idea.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast on Uganda. Today we have gone cross-border. We are bringing a Rwandan in the studio and one other than Yussouf Ntwali. I wasn't sure that the T was silent. I thought it was Ntwali until I heard you pronouncing Ntwali. And he is the CEO of Bag Innovation, founded in Rwanda, now expanding into Uganda. So we want to have this conversation about innovation and entrepreneurship and see what are the similarities of Rwanda, Uganda, what are the challenges. Recently I had a podcast recording with a gentleman who has also done business cross countries, and he was telling us, in Rwanda it's so easy. You go to the GB and it's a one-stop center for registering. But do you know how many offices you have to go to Kampala to just get your company incorporated? So I think that was quite an insight. I was very jealous with the people in Rwanda. I thought, I wish that would happen here in Uganda. What keeps you up late at night as an innovator, and the people you've hosted on your podcast? What is the talk around town for the innovator in 2025?
The thing that keeps me up at night is how do we build more technology companies or technology solutions come out of Africa. I always tell my friends it would be great to hear a tech company or a solution that was built from Uganda, Kigali, or Nairobi that somebody's using in Argentina to do something, right? I would love to see more success stories of African solutions being used all over the world, because I think for a very long time we've been building solutions either for specific countries or regions. How do we get more companies to start building for the world? Kind of out of Africa. So I think that's really one of the things that I'm really thinking about.
What are the entrepreneurs like in Uganda that you have interacted with in an underbag project as compared to back home?
Back home, I was talking about this earlier today with somebody else. I haven't been able to interact with a lot of founders. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that the ecosystem in Rwanda is more vibrant. At least the tech ecosystem is a lot more vibrant.
And we do have communities here. We have the Hive Collab. Have you been there?
I haven't been there. But yes, I've heard about it. I'm part of this huge WhatsApp group with a lot of founders here in Uganda, Founders Lounge, which is pretty helpful too. I've been able to meet a bunch of people who are part of the group as well. I've heard of events happening here and there. Been to the Innovation Village, had a few meetings there as well.
The ICT has a hub.
I was there at a meeting, I met a few entrepreneurs. Well, one thing I'm seeing is there's not a lot of activities bringing entrepreneurs together all the time. It feels more like business communities, not tech business communities, if that makes sense. So you can meet a lot of people who run businesses, but not necessarily tech businesses. There are some, not a lot of opportunities bringing them together
as compared
to Rwanda.
And I saw something, Hangar Pitch Fest.
Yes.
That's also for techies?
Yeah, so it's like one of the largest technology, let's say, events. It's almost like a high school idol or American Idol.
It's
like
a
talent,
Shark Tank.
Yes.
Or Dragon's Den.
It's more like a talent show for people who are in the tech space. A very large event, happens every year, organized by the Ministry of ICT. Entrepreneurs who go through an application process, you get selected to go through a boot camp, and then they select some, and then those make it to the finals. The top 5 pitch in front of almost the entire tech ecosystem in Rwanda. So you have policymakers, you have people from the public sector, private sector, investors. Everyone's there, basically, right? And you get to pitch in front of them. Even the president has attended, which is amazing for the tech ecosystem, right? Because if you're getting public sector to support and show support for the tech ecosystem, people tend to start taking tech entrepreneurs seriously, right? And I think that's one of the things that I would love to see a lot more in other ecosystems. It's, the government showing support for the tech ecosystem, because that promotes entrepreneurs to take their businesses seriously. Because another thing I was telling somebody is, my company is my full-time job. I wake up in the morning, similar to how somebody who goes to the bank and works. I wake up in the morning and I work.
For those of you who are not able to see his shirt, it says, "I'm not unemployed, I'm a tech founder."
Exactly. We have about 20 people in our office, and this is their full-time job. When taking entrepreneurs seriously. If you're selling services to large enterprises, you're gonna go and want to sell your product to a large bank. You're gonna want to meet the CEO of a large sector that you're in. You want these CEOs to take you seriously. Say you are a CEO as I am a CEO, let's sit down and do a deal. And the thing that a lot of these CEOs don't know is that there are a lot of tech companies that are making hundreds of millions of whatever currency the country uses, and they're employing a lot of people, and they have customers, they have all kinds of things. And they should be taken seriously. They should be having meetings. They should be providing their services, and they should be buying their services.
Why do you think they aren't taking us more seriously?
Because we're not taking ourselves seriously. There's also lack of access to funding. A lot of companies get stuck because they can't get funding to grow.
I guess have demystified that. They're like, yes, some people get funding and they're still back to zero.
Yeah, there's always exceptions, right? But it goes back to thinking about my podcast. I run a podcast where I speak to founders or people doing cool things all over the world. And one of the questions that I always ask them is that, is entrepreneurship for everyone? Do you believe this thing is for everyone? Probably 99% of everyone says no. Entrepreneurs themselves, they always say this is not for everyone, right? The problem is that a lot of the times you find, let's say a lot of companies that shut down or a lot of companies that don't progress, some of the things you realize is that founders either started the business for a wrong reason, but again, there's a lot of market factors. You might be in a sector affected by policy or lack of funding because it's not a very sexy sector for investors. There's a lot of factors,
agriculture. Right? Tech is sexy and appealing.
Yeah.
Especially for Uganda, we have a young population.
Yeah.
How young is your population in Rwanda?
It's very close. Yeah. So when we talk about tech, it's almost like we're not talking about Facebook. When people think about tech, right? A lot of people who are not in tech, when they think about tech, they're thinking about social media, these cool little apps on your phone. But that's not the only thing in tech, right? In agriculture, you need technology. It does not have to be an app. If you have to log in, right? You could use some hard tech, right? There's software, there's also hard tech. So you could use AI algorithm to identify diseases that are attacking your crops, right? That's something that is very much needed. You need it. It's not about, it's a nice to have. It's something you need to be able to grow faster and actually provide solutions in a much more efficient way. So when we're talking about tech, we're not just talking about apps that are cool, that people are using to order food and stuff like that. We're talking about cutting costs, making it possible that companies don't need to hire a lot of people to perform the same task. So digitization is part of the tech we're talking about. Going back to the topic around people who still raise money and then they fail, there's a lot of factors, right? But also I believe that we have to start businesses for the right reasons. Always fall in love with the problem, never fall in love with the solution, right? Always start by digging deeper into the problem, really becoming an expert about whatever solution you're trying to provide. Really understand the problem, the root cause, speak to experts, study, learn about the problem really well, and just really develop that knowledge. It's going to help you start building a solution. And also start entrepreneurship for the right reason. Don't just start because you want to meet the president or you want to be cool and you want to have CEO written on your LinkedIn. I mean, there's a lot of cool perks about being a founder. You will get invited to panels, but again, what a lot of entrepreneurs who we see are successful don't really talk about is how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. So the right reasons.
Yeah, the right reasons. I'm quite impressed by a few gentlemen. You bump into restaurants and they're sat there all day, but they're working. They'll tell you they're doing blockchain or Bitcoin. And they're meeting money. The biggest challenge for most entrepreneurs is funding. We probably aren't taking people seriously because we don't even know the impact of what small startup tech companies could do to our economy, because the podcast is about achieving a middle class economy. So how do we get there? But if you think about all the small businesses in Uganda, most of our economy is built by the SMEs and SMEs. It's interesting to take more interest in what young people are doing to achieve that middle class economy. You spoke about Rwanda having an ecosystem enabling tech startups to operate and thrive. It would be nice to know, because you're such a Pan-African, what are the opportunities we need to tap into here?
Opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities, but again, touching back to the point around what it would take to take entrepreneurs seriously, right? One of the things to think about is we have to be the ones. I do workshops on how to pitch your company. How do you pitch your company to make people care? I start with, nobody cares about you or your idea. right? That's literally my first slide whenever I start a workshop. And I always tell people that it's your job as an entrepreneur to make people care.
Wait a minute. Do you know what it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy by 2040? Please send us an email at onuganda@gmail.com.
If you are struggling to get people to care, these are governments, these are potential clients, investors, and stuff like that, you have to start making them care. By running your business as a movement, you have to position yourself as a change maker in whatever the field you are in.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be the person saying, I am a champion for employment, farmers, technology, and agriculture.
Champion.
Exactly, right? And this is my life's work, right? I'm a champion for, health for everyone. You have to position yourself in that space and take any opportunity that you can to talk about whatever movement you're trying to rally people around, right? And that's gonna help, number one, for people to be like, okay, this person is talking a lot about this. Like, there must be something. Let's listen to them. I think that's the first thing to make people care about whatever you're trying to do. And the second thing is really to work hard on your idea. It's hard to work on something and spend a lot of time if you don't care about it. Because entrepreneurship will slap you in the face. Absolutely. Once you start, it's exciting. You're updating your LinkedIn, CEO, whatever. You have a website. People are calling you for podcasts. People are calling you to do whatever. And you feel very cool. Once you start working on the product, you launch it into the market, customers don't want to buy. Right? Yeah. Customers don't care about it. They're like, yeah, don't really care. It's not very interesting, or I don't have the money. You start realizing how hard entrepreneurship is. Work becomes too much. You can't hire because you can't afford to. Once you start doing those things, you realize how hard entrepreneurship is, and then it becomes hard. So either you quit. The most sane people should quit right away because there's no point in wasting time and energy. You should quit and do something else. The second point is working really hard on your ideas and spending a lot of hours. You can only do that if you really know and you really are passionate about what you're trying to do.
You're in it for a long haul.
Exactly. I think another thing to demystify about this entrepreneurship journey is that if you're not passionate, you shouldn't stay long because it's just going to be too hard. You're going to realize that I'm either having to sell my car or whatever just to keep this thing running. That way, I'm a smart person. I can get a job and live a better life. So I think if we do some of those things, we will create this movement where people start caring. They're going to see that we're resilient. There must be something here.
To be honest, we're organizing an AI conference for April.
But the sponsors you reach out to, you're going to reach out the first time, second time, third time, fourth time.
First time?
Yeah.
That's when they're responding.
You think, persistence.
Persistence.
You don't give up on the second or third time because they're not responding. Keep at it. You'll get a no or yes. Absolutely. At least you get an answer.
100%. Maybe touching on your question around opportunities, I would love to see more industry experts running companies. Every time I meet somebody and let's say they've been working in a specific sector for 5-10 years, I always joke with them and I'm like, why don't you start a company? Right? Because you have a lot of knowledge about that sector. For example, in my field, I meet a lot of HR managers of large companies who all work for the government and stuff. Even here in Uganda, I've been meeting a lot of people. And when we're having conversation, asking what are the challenges and opportunities in HR here we could take advantage of. I realized they have great ideas based on experience. Yeah. They were telling me a lot of good ideas and I'm like, why don't you join back? Yeah. I started joking about that. I would love to see more industry experts in fields all over Africa to start considering and saying, okay, great, I've been building my career. I have a good understanding. I'm a doctor. I've been a doctor for 20 years, 10 years. I have a good understanding of the challenges in the health sector. Partnering up, we could build a great solution. You're the right person to build a company because you've worked in the sector and you've seen what works and what doesn't, so you can bring insights. That's an opportunity. Nobody wants to be an entrepreneur because it's very hard.
Courage.
Exactly.
And shit hits the fan, people are going back to their monthly pay.
The only way to make people not scared about entrepreneurship is to create more success stories. The reason why the Nigerian tech ecosystem is vibrant and is one of the most ripe, let's say, for investments, has received a lot more investment compared to a lot of different areas. And obviously South Africa is also included, Egypt and Kenya. But the reason why is because you see a lot more success stories, coming from Nigeria. So you see a Nigerian company getting bought by an American startup for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? That is an amount you would never make working a job for 20 years. A couple of founders within 5-10 years make a lot of money and become millionaires in Africa. You see companies worth billions founded by Africans scaling and used by global companies. The more we see success stories coming out of Uganda, seeing a Ugandan company getting bought for millions of dollars, the more we see a Rwandan company getting bought for millions, the more people will start thinking, even investors, local investors, will start looking at companies, startups, and say, okay, I can take these guys seriously.
Yeah.
If you ask the wealthiest people in Kampala, wealthy people in Kigali, and say, hey, invest a few millions of dollars in whatever startup, they'll be like, what's a startup? Exactly, they'll be like, what's a startup?
How is gaming back in Kigali?
The gaming industry? You mean like PlayStation and stuff?
Is that the same as gamification?
It's more like a methodology. Platforms can use gamification techniques to increase user retention. So elements of games, gamification.
Like what's that thing called on the phone? Candy Crush.
Candy Crush.
That's the same.
So that's more of a game, right? What companies have started doing is, if you're in the B2C space, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with B2C, B2B, that kind of terminology. So if you're building software for consumers to use, right? Either to buy food, targeting the average person, to buy food, whatever, Glovo, any of these platforms. One of the problems with B2C businesses is churn or retention issues, where customers in the tech space are not very loyal. They will always jump to the next. So if right now we're all using Glovo to order food, if there comes another better platform that's cheaper, we will all jump there. We won't be like, hey Glovo, this company has approached me, we will just jump.
Yeah.
So that leaves Glovo with big problems because they need to start calling you and say, hey, why are you not using us anymore? They spend a lot of money doing that.
And why?
They might know, might not know. That's the thing. They have to figure out how to investigate. So companies have started now using elements of games to try and keep people on. If you buy something on a platform, they'll give you points. The same way that you play the game.
Yeah.
And they will tell you these points could be redeemed into something, a gift or a reward.
Yeah.
So then you start using these elements to make people more addicted to using the app. So let's say they implement that into their platform. So when you order food, let's say they would say, the more you log in every day into Glovo, we'll give you points.
Oh, yeah.
That triggers you to log in every day, then trigger you to buy something.
Yeah.
And once you buy something, they make more money. They also reward you with points. If you log in 50 times, or if you purchase from us, then 10 orders, we will reward you with 10,000 UGX for your next order. It's gonna be free because you logged in. So that becomes an element of game, because when you're playing, you win one level, they give you points. You use those points to purchase whatever. It's a car, if it's a car game.
It's very smart. Even back in school, I always thought the guys who are good at math, the tech savvy people, were always genius. I can see that. Thank you for making time to come on the podcast. You talked to us about the opportunities. The Patriot doesn't want to look at them as challenges because, as you can imagine, we have so many challenges, and the way you've wrapped them up for us to look at them as opportunities works for us on the podcast. With your interactions with the Ugandan entrepreneur and your project, what are their challenges? And from where you sit, say from Kigali, how do you think we could do better here in Uganda?
Could do better. I don't think I'm in the right position to compare and say, because every ecosystem has its own challenges.
True,
Even the Uganda one
has generic.
Very generic. I think the Uganda market is interesting. It's challenging, but very interesting, right? One of the first things that I've noticed is that the market needs a lot of digitization across almost every sector. The amount of paperwork that I'm seeing in offices that I walk in of companies that are very big, it's just too much. I'm like, why are we using paper that much? I see a lot of need for digitization. But again, digitization has to go with adoption, right? You know, because you can have a great solution that digitizes a specific area, but then somebody's like, they feel like it's way too much work than them doing it the way they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing to think about. One of the things that helps an ecosystem, right? You really need to get the policymakers on board. Right? The reason is not because you can't run an ecosystem without a policy. I'm a strong believer that innovation drives policy. You have to let innovators break the rules. Then you realize we did not create any rules about this. Now let's create it.
In some markets, policy doesn't move as fast as the innovation.
Exactly. You have to allow entrepreneurs to innovate with some limitations. Anything that is involving health or involving money, involving anything that would hurt people's livelihoods, I think you still need policy to be there first before you can allow innovation to be disrupted. But I think you need to be open to innovators disrupting the industry. Then you create regulation. If there was regulation about AI before AI tools were built and were widely used, maybe we would have never gotten to where AI is right now. But because ChatGPT was able to launch, everybody started using it, then the governments were like, this thing might be too crazy, let's regulate it.
Yeah.
Innovation drives policymakers to start regulating it before it goes any further. So I think one of the things that I would love to see here is adoption of digital transformation from the government side. Government being like, we need to digitize a lot of areas. We need to make this, to document a lot of things, right? Because digitization helps you to document things and have them stored in much more safer places so you can use that data to make informed-based decisions.
You walk into a ministry and you don't have any archives or paperwork.
Not as much as here. There's still some paper, but we've done a lot of work. There's a platform called Irembo, very popular, where you can access any government documents that you might need to go to the sector for, your certificate of birth or whatever. You just put in your ID and then almost everything is digitized. You can apply for a driver's license, get dates, pay online, all of that stuff, which is amazing.
I think we're getting there. Yeah, it used to be terrible. The past year, we've improved.
Right, there's a big opportunity in that area because once you start digitizing a lot of things, then number one, what you create is this sense of everybody now starts understanding the importance of things being digital. They're like, oh, now I don't need to keep my documents under the bed and worry that if my house burns, I will lose all my
under
documents.
The bed.
I mean, we all seen jokes where parents always have. If you ask your parents about, hey, give me my report, my transcript for my primary school, like they're always exactly.
Under the bed and pulls it out.
So if you create that sense of people understanding the benefit of being digital, it helps with creating that culture. And digitizing cash. I've never had to use cash as much as in Uganda. I literally have to have cash.
Really?
Okay. In Kigali, I almost never use cash.
Also gotten better. Even today, I'll probably don't have a penny in my wallet, but I'll have mobile money and my cards.
Absolutely. I've also seen some apps of telco companies that are much better here, which is pretty cool. Airtel, I really love the Airtel app. I was even at the Airtel office yesterday, and I told them that I was like, your app is really nice. I can do a lot with it. Tell Airtel to sponsor the podcast. So I think digitizing cash is important. You want to make sure that small thing people do every day, they can do it online, because online is much better. You can track data, you can use that data to do something with that. You can build apps where people are spending money online, but then they can also purchase a lot of different goods and services, which opens up the opportunity for tech entrepreneurs to disrupt markets.
Ooh, too much information, but I hope we digest it slowly, dear patriot who is watching and listening. I know you're working on your bag, Incubators. It would be unfair to close the episode without hearing what you're doing, what your future plans are for Uganda, the Ugandan market.
For sure.
What's keeping you up?
It's actually Bag Technologies now.
Bag Technologies.
We're an HR tech company. And what we do is that we help employers or large enterprises or even small businesses, medium businesses, and large enterprises to do 4 things. Number 1 is sourcing candidates, hiring, assessing, and also onboarding. So our software does all those 4 things for businesses at any stage. We're pushing for businesses to adopt. I've also realized that a lot of companies are still receiving application for jobs via email or using Google Form or LinkedIn. And we believe that we can provide them with a much better experience with our platform where they're able to do all these things.
So where do you do the promotion? If there's a job position, where does it go?
We do promote some of our positions on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the biggest competitor for a lot of hiring platforms anywhere in the world, because they have more than 300 million people. Almost everyone is on LinkedIn, so you want to access their data. So we do promote there. But I think for us, what we do focus on is to digitize things, keeping the HR managers up at night. In this part of the world, you post a job, you receive thousands of applications. You're not able to, you don't have time to go through everyone. So hiring managers end up hiring their brother, sister, friend, because it's too tedious. Our platform helps with that. We have a shortlisting feature that uses AI to analyze a lot of different documents that a candidate's providing in their application form. And we're able to give you a list of the top 10 people out of all those hundreds of applications. You can also host online assessments. So you can do assessment fully online. So those companies that require people to, let's say, send them a PDF and then they have to respond in email, or they have to come to the office and do whatnot. You can do online exams. They call them exams, but we call them assessments on our platform. You can test their technical ability. We even have them do videos as well. So we see a lot of companies, bringing people to the office to do in-person interviews, but we want to cut down that time. So you're only meeting the people who have gone through all that process, so you can meet the top ones. This is very helpful for large enterprises.
But also, I scout talent for my 9-to-5. A lot of candidates ask, are we going to have a per diem or transport refund? And I'm like, no, sorry. But it would be helpful if the client let you do it virtually, but I also appreciate the fact to see them physically, at least know exactly what they're getting into.
It should be at the end. I always believe it should be at the end. There's no point in having people come 4 times with papers in their hands. What's the point? We're wasting everybody's time.
Absolutely.
I think that's really what we do on the company side.
That's great.
And we also help them build pipelines as well.
What are the plans for you guys?
So we're hoping that we can get a good significant number of companies to jump on board. We already have great companies adopting our solution. Every day we're meeting new companies trying to change the way they do things, and we're there to help them. We also want a lot of job candidates as well, because we do a lot of things for job candidates on our platform as well. They're able to.
You also get them ready for the markets.
Exactly. We provide what we call virtual experience. Work experience is a big challenge for job seekers. On our platform, you complete tasks as if you were working in a job. We partner with companies to create micro tasks.
More like a virtual internship?
It's almost like a virtual internship, but for mid-level positions. So it doesn't have to be just interns. You can do it for even mid-level positions. So we're creating a lot of that virtual experience for people. And that's another way for these candidates, they complete these tasks, they enter the company pool. When this company wants to hire, instead of them posting online, they basically tap into that pool that's already been created for them.
Oh, you're building something. I see it.
We're trying.
So then there's big companies reach out to you for top talent.
Exactly. You know, we have about 30,000 talents that are using our software across different markets, across Rwanda, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda now.
And definitely have to check it out.
We're interested in the Ugandan market. We see a lot of opportunities, need for digitization, need for companies to embrace technology. It's a right market for that.
I have an infograph on LinkedIn. A gentleman was spelling out the different GDPs per capita for African countries. Obviously, Rwanda wasn't up there. It would be nice for you to share your thoughts on how we can achieve a middle-class economy as Uganda, but also for Rwanda. Speaking, the World Bank projected that Uganda would achieve that middle-class economy by 2040. I'm not sure when the projection was made for Rwanda. What do you think it takes for a country, especially if the tech ecosystem is funded and we have the right environment?
I think what it's going to take is definitely foreign investment and creating jobs. Those are the 2 pillars that I can speak about. I'm sure there's a lot more experienced economists out there who are spending their days working on these specific things. I think these are the 2 things that I believe that are going to help a lot of our African countries go and really achieve that middle income country. Because I think, you know, being a young population, there's a great opportunity for us to be able to market African talents to work for global companies and really bring that exchange onto the continent, earning dollars, increase their purchasing power, spend on local businesses, and just grow the economy in general. And also just attracting a lot of, I think Rwanda is really investing a lot in putting Rwanda on the map. President has done an amazing job, and our government has done an amazing job in really identifying strategies of making people attracted to come and do business in Rwanda, making it easy to register a business, making it easy to interact with policymakers, right? If you come to Rwanda and you want to invest, you will have people who will sit down with you from any ministry that you want to talk to, and they will share information, they will help you meet the right people that you need to meet. And that's important to attract investors. Also making sure that as we're attracting businesses to set up in our parts of the world, we're creating networks attractive for them. It's not just an environment easy to set up a business. You need to access talent, right? So figuring out how do you position and train the talent, local talents to be ready to work for global companies. You bring Apple, you bring the Googles of the world, but once they come here, they need to find amazing engineers, they need to find amazing talent ready to work. They can stay here, they can create more jobs and more opportunities, and that's going to help even the local businesses to say, okay, great, I'm building a business, I'm building a tech solution, I can exit by selling it to Google because Google is here, it's nearby, it's in town, I can go to their office and talk to them. So I think if we can, focusing on those 2 areas, I think it's going to be very important. Attracting foreign investment, and we can attract it by making our countries more safe to do business in, more attractive, looking at taxation, making it interesting, and incentivizing businesses to scale in Uganda. Why would I set it up in Rwanda? Why would I go and do it in Kenya? what are the opportunities? Where am I gaining that I can't get from somewhere else?
It's great. It's really great. You just touched upon acquisition and margin. I thought we should dive deeper. What is it like in Manda?
I believe we could do a better job on seeing more acquisitions. I mean, there's some small acquisitions that happen here and there, but they need to be more public. So people can see that. That's the most important thing is people never think that these things are possible, right?
They're out of reach.
Exactly. You're like, how do I get my company acquired? But also even local companies. One thing I'm passionate about, even with corporate people, is what are the opportunities, what are the challenges that your company is facing? What are the things that you believe an entrepreneur somewhere can build for you and you guys will just buy it instead of having to build it in-house? We see a lot of corporates wanting to build things in-house without necessarily collaborating with the technical system and saying,
the wheel.
exactly, like why would I spend millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to build something in-house when there's somebody who's already done, even if it's 50%, we can start from there and say, well, great, let's acquire, you work on it, finish it, and create that kind of exit. If somebody can facilitate those connections, scout the market and look at the challenges and how can you connect them to somebody who's already halfway there that they can acquire for a small amount of money compared to what they would invest in building from scratch, we would see a lot more interesting growth.
I recently got married and
congratulations.
One of my husband's uncles was telling us the exact same thing. There's so many opportunities, keep your eyes open. Acquire small companies. There's some people who are struggling, they probably just need the funds you might have. I thought that was nice, but when I came back, I thought, where do we look? There's no central place to find that one company.
To make it happen. Incubators can do a great job. I believe incubators have lost touch with what they were supposed to do because, all of them are just focused on the same thing. It's how do you do a business plan, blah, 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 all that stuff. I've been part of a couple. The most important thing is that we should be trying to help companies either get acquired, either, access funding, right? And I'm a strong believer that you need to be very good at selecting entrepreneurs, and a very good entrepreneur already knows how to build a great product, already knows how to do a business plan and whatnot. You don't need a 30-page business plan. You need a great product that works, that people are willing to buy for. Because I can meet an investor right now. I don't need to show them a 30-page business plan. If I have a product, they're going to ask me, what is the product? Who uses it? Who has used it? How much money are you making? I don't need a 40-page plan or a lot of fancy documents for me to show all that stuff. If I have that, I can always hire an accounting firm and say, here's money, make me these documents and get acquired.
They let the professionals do what they do. We had a lot of proposals, right?
Focus on finding talent, talented people who are great at building product, who are great at acquiring customers. Most of the time, it's like we're trying to force people to be entrepreneurs.
Not enough problems.
No, I think one of the ways, this might get me in trouble with people who run incubators, but we're forcing people to be entrepreneurs. There is this trend across different markets where you find an incubator that starts and they're offering $10,000, right, to fund your idea if you graduate from this program, or $20,000. They're going to give you a grant if you finish this program 3 or 6 months. At the end, you get funding. The problem is now people who never thought about being an entrepreneur, somebody who has a job, or somebody who's unemployed, even worse, looking at the money and saying, okay, great, I just need to go and attend these couple of sessions, create some BS business concept, say, oh yeah, I'm gonna also build another competitor to Glovo, or I'm gonna build another competitor to Safe Boda, whatever, to deliver food or deliver this and this. They create a compelling pitch, but there's no market research, they have no skills, they have no experience in the field, but the only reason they did it is because they saw that there is gonna be $10,000 at the end. So majority of the time, you find that people who join these incubators end up winning the money. A couple of months later, they buy a car, they invest, they start building a small house, they get married, and then you start asking, what happened to the idea? They're like, yeah, it didn't work, that's it.
Yeah.
To me, that is forcing people to be entrepreneurs, because somebody who's gonna be an entrepreneur, they will be an entrepreneur against all odds. With or without funding, they will work on the idea, right? If there's no funding, you should be able to quit and get a job, but you try. We are keeping people alive with grants who are not supposed to be entrepreneurs.
That's going to reduce now with large entities cutting back on funding. We might see that reduce and maybe stay with the real entrepreneurs.
I think the money that is going to a lot of grant entrepreneurial projects, I have nothing against grants, right? We received a lot with our company. and they've helped us build great products and do a lot of things. But I feel like there might be too much grants going out there.
No,
I
we
think,
get the point.
we need to be cautious with
Yeah.
who we give a grant to.
Yeah.
I think we need to give grants to businesses that are already working, right? So they can do a better job, not trying to force people to be entrepreneurs when they won't be if there's no grant.
Thank you so much for making time. If somebody is listening in right now, watching right now, and they want to follow up on something you said, where can I find you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very active on Twitter, now X. My full name's no space, Yussouf Ntwali.
Yeah.
I'm very active on LinkedIn. I think that's where we connected.
Where we connected.
I'm active on LinkedIn and Twitter as well.
Website name?
Back to work.
Back to
So
work.
yeah, www.bagbag.work. You can go and check out our work. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. You can shoot me a text on Twitter as well, or X, or even Instagram. I've connected with a lot of people on Instagram. Let me know if there's anything I can help with.
It was wonderful to hear insights from Rwanda and Uganda. This is one of the first ones, so thank you for being our pioneer. It was lovely to hear the insights from all the entrepreneurs you're meeting here in Uganda, and we wish you all the best for Bag Technologies.
Thank you. Great job.
It's a wrap. Let's see.
Thank you for listening in this far. I really hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Share this episode with your colleagues or friends that you think will benefit from this information. Let them know what you're listening to. Would you also rate our podcast? Because once you rate our podcast, other people like you are able to listen to this information and use it to their own benefit. On a lighter note, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We would really like to hear your thoughts.